I will receive today.
All right.
All right, Doug, here we go. Yesterday, the NCAA president, Charlie Baker, proposed a sweeping overhaul to college athletics, all right? The long and short end of it is, because it's long, here's the short end. It allows schools to pay a minimum of $30,000 to student athletes. Schools that opt in will become their own division. This is essentially forming and establishing the haves and have-nots. What do you think?
So I read all this stuff, and I read reaction to this stuff. And it's complicated as hell, all right? It's basically college sports Premier League. And what's been proposed is a response to the litigation against the NCAA. They are trying to say, okay, and basically not lose this court case that they're in right now. And it basically brings NIL in-house. It may eliminate collectives. It also probably would eliminate a bunch of non-revenue sports, although some non-revenues would thrive because Title IX has to be adhered to. So if you decide you're going to pay $30,000 to 85 football players and 15 basketball players, that's 100 female athletes that get the same thing. There's a careful what you wish for scenario. And Gator, quite frankly, it's so complicated. It includes trust funds, and I don't even know if it means you lose your scholarship. Bottom line is, I think it's too complicated to actually happen, and everybody would have to opt in from all the Power 5 schools to make it worthwhile, and I'm not sure they're going to collectively agree to do that.
No, I don't think it's ever going to happen either because of all the reasons you said. But the other thing is this, the Title IX aspect of it, if they would simply stick to and adhere to what the original NIL purpose is, making money off your own name, image, and likeness, you wouldn't have to worry about Title IX. Because it's on the student athlete. It should be on the student athlete. This whole thing is about the players, right? You want to go make money, go make money. You can do it. Make money off your name. Don't involve the school. The NCAA needs to get off their ass and actually put down an NIL policy and spell it out for you real quickly. This isn't about having rich donors set up a big pool of money for the players to grab from. That's not the spirit of what NIL is. It started because guys like Jeremy Bloom couldn't ski and play football at the same time because he was getting sponsored for his skiing. It goes back to like Brian Bosworth trying to get money from making T-shirts and making money off the pods, and the NCAA saying, "Oh, hey, wait a minute, we don't feel comfortable about that." Allow that stuff to happen. Spell it out in rules like you're supposed to, and it'll take care of itself.
The short end is I don't like this, and I don't think it will ever happen. The biggest part is you're going to eliminate a lot of college sports. If you like college sports and not just football or basketball, by the way, there are other college sports that people don't care about, but they exist. Those will be gone, and that's unfortunate. It's just this won't happen anyways. It's too complicated, like you said. All right, in the new world order of college athletics, it includes an increasing emphasis on the transfer portal. How are you adjusting?
I'm adjusting to it. I just don't necessarily like it as much as I want to. I think teams are adjusting to it. I'm adjusting to it. The biggest problem I have is that high school kids committing to a college program, it doesn't matter because I don't believe you're going to stay there because nobody does. There were, over 60 quarterbacks alone that had already entered the portal as of a couple days ago. I don't know what the number is now, but that's where we were at a couple days ago. It doesn't matter that you've landed this 4-star recruit to play linebacker at your school. If he doesn't start from day one, he's not going to stay because he'll get recruited by somebody else to come and transfer after his freshman or sophomore year. That's the hardest part that I have with this whole thing because there's no loyalty to schools anymore, and it's become free agency.
Well, it's basically every year you're a free agent, and we're in a world that increasingly more. It's, hey, what's in it for me? What's in my best interest? Which I can't really blame people for thinking that way. There's a downside though to the portal. Last year, 1,300 football players went into the portal, and I saw it reported that 278 got stuck. Didn't come out of the portal. Didn't get another opportunity. And that's roughly 20%. So these kids that jump into the portal, grass isn't always greener.
I've adjusted. I don't love it, but I've adjusted because I go back to the fact that they get to make their own decisions. And whether they're right or wrong, Doug, whether they get stuck in the portal or they do find a better place, they made that decision on their own. They were able to make it. I've adjusted the NIL. The only thing I haven't adjusted to is realignment because to me, you got to keep some kind of resemblance of college football, and that was geographical alignment, I thought, at least. And now that that's kind of out the window, just take on, this is professional amateur sports or whatever you want to call it. All right, what non-playoff bowl game is your favorite matchup?
So it's hard because of opt-outs to pick one. So I tried to find one where I think opt-outs are going to impact it the least. I don't think Arizona's going to have many opt-outs, and they're playing Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl. And Dylan Gabriel said that even though he is in the portal, he is still trying to figure out if he can play for Oklahoma. And if he does, I think this is going to be a shootout and one of those really entertaining, not all that important bowl games.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's hard to find a game where the players aren't going to opt out, but I know that one big player's opting out of this game, and I still want to see it. It's Ole Miss and Penn State in the Peach Bowl. SEC in the Big Ten, big offense against a good defense. I know Chop Robinson isn't going to be there for Penn State, but he's not the only player Penn State's got on defense. I would love to see the Big Ten shut down the offensive juggernaut that is Ole Miss, and if they do, then it's just more Big Ten over SEC prowess.
It's funny because those are the two games I was debating between, all right? The Oklahoma thing is Gabriel. I'd love to see him play because that's a lot of offense, a lot of points, just fun to watch. The other game, Penn State and Ole Miss, the Peach Bowl Gator, I end up choosing that one. And not because of the players, you're right, that there was already one big-name player opting out. It's Kiffin versus Franklin. I mean, the coaches have personalities right there alone, so I want to see – I actually want both to kind of lose somehow, so it'd be just going to be fun to me to watch the coaches on the sidelines. All right, Army-Navy this weekend wraps up the regular season. Do you root for Army or do you root for Navy?
For me, it's kind of punch button easy because when I was growing up, one of the first players in football that I was a big fan of was Roger Staubach, the quarterback of the Cowboys, and he went to Navy. He was a midshipman. He won the Heisman Trophy at Navy. Served once he graduated, he served our country for 3 or 4 years, and then came to the NFL and became one of my heroes. And I remember reading his autobiography or his biography way back. That's when he actually used to read books, and I was like in 5th grade. So I always latched on to Navy, and then as years went on, I had a friend of mine that was in the Navy Reserves. So it kind of made it easy for me.
I root for whoever's trailing, and it sounds like a cop-out, but I can't root against either one of these teams. Yeah,
you root for, but I'm not rooting against.
Right.
Yeah.
I find
Gator
myself,
hates Army. I heard it. He hates the U.S. Army.
I want this to be a great game, and so if somebody's trailing, I'm pulling for them to make the comeback, and I'm rooting for everybody.
My answer is very similar to yours, Doug. I usually root for the underdog, whoever the underdog is, and then trailing, I guess, in the game, but if Army was a bigger underdog, I'd probably end up rooting for them the whole game or vice versa. But all things being equal, be all you can be, I go Army.
All right.
Lots of QB talent in the portal. Is there a QB you'd like Michigan or Michigan State to grab? And who's going to be the quarterback for Ohio State in 2024?
Okay, the Ohio State question's tough. I'll go with Devin Brown, the backup to Kyle McCord this year. But since I'm on that one-track mind of thinking what's the worst thing for Ohio State, I think the quarterback I'd like to see land at Michigan is Kyle McCord. And then I'd like to see him beat Ohio State.
That would be fun. For me, with Ohio State, I think Dylan Gabriel makes sense. It's a spot where they've got an open spot. You're going to go to a big school. Bama and Georgia already have their starting quarterbacks. So what's going to happen? I think Dylan Gabriel goes up north, uses his last vestige of
He very well could.
Yeah, and I think it'd be a good pickup there. For Michigan State, I'm going to go with the guy who sounds like, by all accounts, he's going to come here, and it's Aiden Childs from Oregon State. Why? Because he's really young. He was a true freshman this year, got some playing time, completed 68% of his passes, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's got wheels. He carried 17 times for 79 yards as well. He's hyper athletic. He's got great size at 6'4", 215. I think he's a perfect fit for Michigan State. Plus, he knows the system that they're going to be running here, so he can hit the ground running as opposed to waiting for this developmental period.
All right, for Michigan, I don't think they should hit the portal. If JJ leaves, I think they should go to Orgy. For Michigan State, there's talks of this guy going to MSU. Mississippi State, but I think he should go to Michigan State. Dylan Gabriel. I think that that would be a nice pickup if they can't get Childs. For Ohio State, I think it would be hilarious if it was Arch Manning. All right, because Quinn Ewers goes to Texas from Ohio State. I think kind of be full circle. If they go and they keep Ewers and he doesn't go to the NFL draft this year, Arch Manning ain't going to be happy. He's going somewhere. I doubt it's Ohio State, but for my entertainment purposes, I think it'd be hilarious if Arch Manning went to Ohio State.
I love it. Can he go Yankee, though?
Probably not.
Is he allowed to go north of the Mason-Dixon line?
No,
I think it's more hilarious if it's Devin Brown.
Are you dying or dreading to see that the college football expands to 12 playoff teams?
I'm neither dying nor dreading. I guess if I have to say one or the other, I guess I'm dying to see it. Again, I'm trying to be adaptive. I'm trying not to turn into old guy. I'm trying not to resist change. I hope it's spectacular. And I guess I have a curiosity factor, and I think college football might be better because of it, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm dying to see it. I'm 100% sure college football is going to be better with more teams in a playoff. There's more interest in it. I think the downside is seeing what happens with conferences and what they decide to do with conference championships and divisions and all that. But as far as the playoff is concerned, open it up to 12 teams. The debate about who should be the 11th team is still going to be a great debate, but it's not going to have people ripping their hair out like it would with who should be in the top 4, right? You know you're going to get the top 4 teams in the country will be playing when you get 12 teams in the playoff. So I think it's great. The other thing that's great about it is you're not going to see players opting out as much. When you get the top 12 teams in the country, I'm not worried about Chop Robinson bowing out. He's going to play. I'm not worried about Dylan Gabriel not opting out. He'd play. You know what I mean?
If I have to pick, I'm going to say dying to see. I mean, I don't really love it, but between the two, I don't want to do what we just did Monday. I can't do that. Battling over the 4th team. Again, you're right, Gator. It's going to be easier to bet over the 12th and the 13th team because in the end, that's the 12th or 13th team. So it is what it is. I'd rather see the 12 teams. All right, really quick, guys, bonus question here. Alma got beat by Cortland in the D3 playoffs last weekend. It comes down to Cortland, Randolph, Macon, Wartburg, and North Central. Name a state of any of these schools where they come from. What state?
I mean,
name a state.
First of all, I'm thinking, I got to think, is it like Idaho or Montana?
Pick a state.
But I'm going to go with Georgia because I see the name Macon, Randolph Macon. I'm thinking Macon, Georgia. So I'm going to go Georgia.
I'm going to go Texas because it makes sense that Texas has some D3 program that's really good.
I agree with you, Gator. I thought the same thing when I saw Macon. It's like, Georgia it is.
We will look it up and answer that question coming up. And that'll do it for the Transfer Portal NIL live animal mascot thingy. Back to your open line calls next. 97.1 The Ticket.